In the year 2015, Lucasfilm was working on a Boba Fett standalone film directed by Josh Trank. This was at the time the director was coming off the successful film Chronicle, and he was making the next Fantastic Four film during this period, so he was the hot director of Hollywood at the time. The Boba Fett movie never came to fruition and was cancelled right before Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim of 2015. But now the director Josh Trank reveals the reason that the film was cancelled was because he quit the project. In a recent interview with Polygon, the director reveals a lot of what went on behind the scenes and how this movie was made, and then eventually fell apart. Here's the entire passage on what happened with Josh Trank and Lucasfilm from the Polygon interview. It didn't help that throughout the making of Fantastic Four, Trank had a second job. A few months before production, Kinberg, who was on top of producing superhero movies for Fox, was a consultant for Lucasfilm. He asked Trank if he wanted to make a Star Wars movie. Kinberg knew that Trank had met with Kiri Hart of Lucasfilm Story Group after Chronicle, and now the company was interested in hearing his pitch for a spin-off movie. At the time, Trank rented a house in Benedict Canyon just a few blocks from where George Lucas lived with his editor and wife, Marcia Lucas, when he wrote the first draft of Star Wars back in 1974. Within a few days to mull over Kinberg's offer, Trank walked up to the Lucas house and basked in its glow. He called it one of the most surreal moments of his life. "The visions that I had in that moment were just out of this world," he said. He walked back to his home with a 3-act pitch for a Boba Fett film. Trank presented the idea to Hart, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy, and Disney chairman Alan Horn. Up until that point, only J.J. Abrams had been approved to play in the Star Wars sandbox, and granting permission for a filmmaker to forever impact the money-making mythos was a month-long process. But the guy who made his name with the lightsaber-themed viral video came out on the other end with a Star Wars movie deal. The next June, in the middle of production of Fantastic Four, Lucasfilm announced the director as a part of the family. "He is such an incredible talent and has a great imagination and sense of innovation," Kathleen Kennedy says. "That makes him perfectly suited to Star Wars." Nearly a year later, Trank would bow out of the movie. "I quit because I know I was going to be fired if I didn't quit." And so that was it. Like, literally, I think a few days, if not a week before Star Wars Celebration, he talked to Kathleen Kennedy, they kind of agreed to terms that he was going to quit, and instead of finding someone else to do the project and someone else to direct the film, Lucasfilm kind of indefinitely postponed the Boba Fett film. And I don't think it was until 2018, I remember it was from, I think it was Entertainment Weekly. I know the guy who asked Kathleen Kennedy about it. Basically, someone eventually asked, "Hey, what's happening to this Boba Fett film?" And it literally got to a point where people forgot about that film. Like, I remember when they officially said that the Boba Fett film was not happening back in 2018, it was kind of newsworthy, but it also wasn't at the same time, because a lot of people forget that this Boba Fett film was even happening. So if you're wondering why they actually, or he quit, basically, and what went on behind the scenes of why he was going to get fired, word on the street was he was having a lot of erratic behavior on the Fantastic Four, and Kathleen Kennedy found out about this. I mean, there's not a lot of things that happen in Hollywood that Kathleen Kennedy can't get information on or hear from through the grapevine. And basically, he had a lot of bad behavior. Word got back to Kathleen Kennedy, and she didn't like it. And so he talked to her about it, and they came to agreement on he's gonna step away from the project, kind of thing. A good PR move on his part. But yeah, I think it would have looked bad if Lucasfilm had fired him. But if he was going to get fired either way, it's kind of like, well, you already got... I don't know how to explain it. It's like, you're going out on your own terms, but to be fair, you also were going to get fired either way. And I think that's kind of sad in hindsight, because now that we look back at time, it's one of those, yet again, what-if projects that we have for Star Wars of Josh Trank was supposed to direct a Boba Fett film. That was supposed to come out in 2018. Imagine how different Star Wars would have been if, instead of Solo: A Star Wars Story coming out in 2018, it was going to be the originally planned Boba Fett film. Instead of Solo, we get Boba Fett. I'm pretty confident the box office would have been different, the marketing would have been different, the story would have been different. I don't know how impactful it would have been on The Mandalorian. I would assume not entirely too much, because they're two complete separate stories and were pitched by two different people with two different agendas. Josh Trank, Jon Favreau, that kind of thing. But still, I think that it's kind of interesting to look back and say, well, now we have another list of directors that were let go by Lucasfilm, and someone like Kathleen Kennedy of Josh Trank was going to be fired by her. Phil Lord, Chris Miller were fired. Gareth Edwards was replaced by Tony Gilroy, a large part of Rogue One in the editing process. And then we get to Colin Trevorrow being let go for episode 9. It's a common thing that we get here, where there's these guys who come in and they eventually get let go by Lucasfilm. And this one isn't something that I would blame Lucasfilm on. I feel like Josh Trank, out of everyone in the situation, was really given the short end of a stick, because I feel like he was screwed over with his Fantastic Four film, and due to that, it kind of cost us a Star Wars film that could have happened. Because when they were going to do this in Celebration 2015, they had they had footage. I know this for a fact. They had footage of that thing ready to go. I don't know how much they actually filmed of the movie. I don't even know how far into the story they got. But I know one thing for damn sure. There is actual footage of what they were going to show for Star Wars Celebration in 2015 of this Boba Fett film. Where it is and who has it, I do not know. Will Star Wars only attain it? That is a likely outcome, but tell me your thoughts below. What do you guys think about Josh Trank, the former director of the Boba Fett film that never came to fruition? It was supposed to come out in 2018. It was officially canceled in 2018, but he left the project back in 2015 due to fear of being fired. Do you think they would have fired him? Are you happy with the results of getting The Mandalorian instead of Boba Fett, or getting Solo instead of Boba Fett film? I would really like to hear your thoughts on this, because I think this is a fascinating what-if scenario that kind of gets forgotten in the Star Wars fandom. This is a forgotten piece of history, and those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. So tell me your thoughts below, my friends. I'm Star Wars Only. Hope you guys like this content. Like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all next time, and may the Force be with you, always.